Okay, so maybe you're like me and you're looking to buy a private company. So should you buy 100% of that company, or should you maybe buy the majority, like 70%, and the person who's selling the business stay on for 30% of the business, and maybe you buy less than half? Let's talk about that today. Now, in the serial acquirer world, there are great examples of both, where businesses buy 100% and businesses buy a majority. There's not that many good examples I can think of that buy less than 50%, but let's assume either 100% or you're going to take majority, like, I don't know, 70, 80%, something like that. I think counterintuitively, having a minority CEO is actually harder to get right. So let's say you buy a business and you're going to buy it for $5 million. You're going to buy 80% of it. So you're going to give the person $4 million to who's selling the business. Now, they've probably never had $4 million in their bank account before. So, well, the need for them to work has now reduced significantly. They've got this massive safety cushion. The need to make money has dropped dramatically for them. And they're not in full control anymore. They're used to being in 100% control. They're used to making all the decisions, not discussing it with anybody. And all of a sudden, they're not in charge. And they've been paid significantly. So I think then you've got things like there's like regulations and voting rights that make things complicated in the future. There's also tax treatments of both parties in this situation. That's often worse because if you're like, for example, a holdco, you can't actually consolidate the losses across the group if one of the businesses is struggling. If you've got minority owners like this, there's some rules in Australia around this. So yeah, I looked into that. That's a pretty interesting negative. Now, at first, when I was looking at buying a private business, I was really hoping that I would buy a business and have the owner keep some stake in it. That was just seemed like, oh, that will help me with the transition. That will help me with not making too many mistakes. And the person's incentivized to help me like transition that business across. The more I've thought about it and the more I've talked to serial acquirer people about this, the less keen I am to do that type of take that type of deal. It sounds nice in theory, but it just seems to be very less likely in practice. Now, there are examples in Sweden. There's a company called Roku. I don't know how to exactly pronounce it, but it's where the old CEO of Lifco has gone and started his own, it's a private business right now, but they're looking to IPO. And this is what they do. They buy 60, 70, 80% stakes in businesses, and they're looking for people who are still really motivated to stay on. And like I said, this can be done. I just think it's really unlikely and far, far more difficult than just buying the whole thing, keeping things simple. So yeah, I think I've definitely changed my mind on that one. Now, of course, some sellers are going to stay because they're great people and this is their life's work. It's their baby. They derive purpose in their life or for going to work for in this particular business, and the people that they work with, they love. And so there is an element of that too. And this is possible. I have seen it. It's quite rare. I think it's definitely a rarer case, but it is out there. But the thing is, when you're 100% of the owner and you can go and make decisions without consulting with a partner and maybe they're not quite on the same page, or you want to go a certain direction and they sort of water it down a little bit like how politics work, where someone comes up with an idea. It might be bold, but everyone sort of gets involved and it starts to get weaker and watered down, and to the point of what's the point of making that decision in the end or making that change that you wanted to. So if you're 100% owner, you're the dictator. So you do as you please. You don't have to consult with another person. Even if it's a minority partner, you still have to have that discussion. So I think there's a big benefit there in being 100% owner. And I think just keeping it simple makes a lot of sense, because if you get to a point where you've got 5, 10, 15, 20 businesses, maybe more, if you've got all varying ownership structures in place there and people wanting to, sell down a piece of their position still, and I don't know, they want to have some people who want to have more influence or a change of direction, even though they're minority owners. You've got to deal with that mess. But if you're just buying 100% of businesses, well, you don't have to deal with any of that messiness involved. You're just the dictator. So for me personally, I'm going to go down the 100% route. And if I make a catastrophic failure and I blow this first acquisition up, I still have my savings. It's all in Interactive Brokers. There's a link in description. That's where I've invested in companies in different parts of the world: Sweden, Germany, Japan, Australia, America, Canada. And that's definitely the safest broker out there. It's better than all the other brokers by a mile. And yeah, that's sort of my safety net. All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. This might be the last one in this lovely scenery as I'm on the way to Australia. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you soon.